Hello and welcome to the much delayed part 5 of Warhammer 40,000 Space... of games that I worked on Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine. I always do that. Doing things a little bit differently this time because I found it kind of hard to try to keep a running commentary up while playing at the same time, so I actually recorded all of this beforehand, or recorded the gameplay beforehand, and now I'm just going to try to commentate over the gameplay. And then if I find that I'm being dull, then I can just fast forward the video through there. So, the end of part 4, Sergeant Sidonis was killed by Nemeroth.
Sidonis died as we all should.
Now, I actually already played this section yesterday, but because I forgot to put the file name extension into OBS, it didn't actually record it, so I'm basically going through this whole section the second time. So, thankfully that means I don't die a whole bunch of times. So this is pretty much just a standard, stand to defend kind of section. Fighting a bunch of chaos people. Maybe I will just time-lapse through this. There's not a lot to say, there's nothing. It's the standard gameplay right here, so it's just me fighting a bunch of dudes. It kind of leads to kind of a slightly silly level design thing, because Valkyrie comes and lands, and Mira gets out, then the Valkyrie leaves again, like right away.
Captain Titus, we're ready to transport you.
Like she says right there, we're ready to transport you.
Sergeant.
The traitor lord murdered him.
Cutscene.
Nemeroth killed Sidonis for the power source. You said the Inquisitor's work was heretical, Leandros. You were right.
What do you mean?
Nemeroth plans to use the power source to trigger his transformation into a demon prince.
Abomination!
How can we stand against such a creature?
I will kill Nemeroth when he's most vulnerable. During the transformation. Safeguard Sidonis until the apothecary arrives. Then join the Imperial attack.
Going alone is suicide. Or worse, we know the enemy takes great interest in your connection to chaos.
Do you fear my falling to chaos?
Of course not. Whatever lies behind your resistance, it can only be to the enemy's favor.
Why? Perhaps this resistance can get you close enough for a killing blow.
I will destroy Nemeroth with skill and steel, or die trying.
For some reason, these last few cutscenes in the game, they don't seem to really pay attention to what weapons you actually have, because it keeps showing Titus with the chainsword, even though I'm using a power axe. So yeah, they said they were going to transport me, and then they just let me walk there instead, which is kind of dumb. There's a lot of walking through empty rooms through this next... for a bit.
Hard work occupies the body and distracts the mind. It is a noble and worthy thing.
Lots of weapon and ammo crates. You have one of the cooler things coming up that really would have been nice if it was a sort of gameplay thing that if it had been introduced earlier on, would have been a kind of a cool thing. I'll show you. It's coming up in a second. I don't know why that guy just freaked out and threw his grenade over there. There it is. Because like some of the like Trader Guard renegades, you do a little bit of damage to them, then they turn into bloodletters. I was like, if that had been in way earlier instead of just like this third act, there could have been a lot cooler stuff done with that. Generally being, I'm hanging back a lot more because the Trader Guard damn flashlight gun can tend to overwhelm pretty quickly, actually. It's kind of, especially on hard, because the game as a whole was a lot harder than I remembered on this playthrough than it was the last time I played through it. Yeah, it seems to be... Yeah, that guy's pathfinding got messed up. But yeah, it's sort of some sort of random generator. For some of them you do damage to them and they die instantly, and some of them you do damage to them and they turn into bloodletters. Because the thing that I figured out was that a fully charged plasma gun shot would basically one-shot the damn Chaos Psychers, but actually like arcing the shot properly at range is hard. But yeah, the Chaos Psychers, their energy blasts just do so much freaking damage.
Charge the enemy!
Doesn't help that I keep screwing up and hitting the ground right in front of me and blowing up all my armor. So this is another kind of a boring bit. I'm probably going to fast forward through this. Stop that guy. Well, the Chaos plasma cannons, they have, I mean, they do that sort of rapid fire barrage in single player, but you can't do that with plasma cannons at all in multiplayer. Which is probably for the best, because plasma cannons in multiplayer were already really kind of imbalanced. I had a co-worker he hated it once plasma cannons became kind of, once people were playing multiplayer enough, plasma cannons became sort of prevalent in multiplayer. There's like a good heavy with a plasma cannon could just sit back and just bomb, like sit back from cover and just drop fully charged bombs on top of the control points. And actually, like, managing to get close enough to these guys to take care of them was really just a giant pain. Other advantage of doing the commentary this way is that you don't hear me clicking like mad.
Liberation fleet is in orbit. Fresh troops are landing, preparing to assault the orbital spire.
It may be severed, but it's still the enemy's strong point.
The fleet is preparing an all-out assault.
Their attack will not be enough to
Oh,
stop the
there.
forces.
Ammo crate off to the right there that I totally missed.
Titus.
Seemed kind of silly and total lack of humility on Titus's part, saying that the entire Liberation fleet won't be able to stop Chaos, but he can. So now this arena sort of thing, if I remember correctly, I think as I mentioned way back in either part 2 or 3, that like after the Valkyrie crashes, you have that fight across the bridge, and then there was the cut section where the part of the bridge collapsed and you had to go through this sort of sewer section, and then there was a stand and defend arena at the end of that. I think, if I remember correctly, this arena is actually that arena, that you're coming into it from the other side. Like you came through it from these stairs here before, and there were a bunch of Imperial Guard guys that were under attack by orcs, and then you would kill those orcs, and then you had to help them defend for a bit.
Strike true!
I thought there might have been a servo skill there. I don't know why. And yeah, well, you would come in from that direction, then you would go through the other side. So there's to a degree, you're kind of backtracking through these other sections. But and it was kind of cool because you would see these sections like from the other way, and with all these Chaos guys instead of orcs. there's a real sense of sort of continuity of the world that way, but then they cut that whole section. They cut out a whole bunch of sections, so then you kind of lost that, which I think was kind of a shame. Now this next bit, once upon a time, and during testing, I was able to just run like hell through it and actually get to a checkpoint, like just without even fighting anybody. And I was like able to like just barely get to this checkpoint before getting killed. And then when I would respawn, you would reload at that checkpoint, and then all the guys that you were supposed to fight would be gone. But I tried to do that when I played through and the recording didn't record, and it didn't. I wasn't able to make it all the way through. I died well before getting to that checkpoint. So now I'm actually like straight up fighting all these guys. Also coming up on the first of, I think, 3 times that I died trying to recording it the second time. It's coming up in a second. So I should probably just started time-lapsing after the... Oh well. Yeah, so I died there because I didn't take care of the guy on the heavy bolter fast enough. I always forget about the bullet time sort of thing. Heavy bolter. Heavy bolter. I know I talk a lot about the sound design, but I really love the way the heavy bolter sounds. actually. Would have been smart of me to save more ammo for this thing, but especially for what's coming up. It's coming up on the bridge, which is probably one of the coolest set pieces in the entire game. It's one that feels like, kind of feel like the whole game should have been more like the bridge. It would have been probably a lot more better received, just because it's the closest to like an all-out war sort of situation. I think that the structure initially is sort of...
Ultramarines, this is Captain Titus.
Captain Titus, Thunderhawk Lance of Joe is at your disposal, Captain.
I must reach the orbital spire. Tell your pilot to make his approach.
Yes, sir.
It's a min on a mission storyline, when it should have been more of a just an all-out battle war storyline. But yeah, this bridge. Bridge is also where I was talking about. It would have been nice to have been able to see in like a Titan in the background fighting.
Blood Raven Squad Corvus reporting in, Captain Titus. We joined the Liberation Fleet at Bakar, along with a squad of Black Templars.
Unleash the fury you showed in the Aurelian Crusade. And we will be glad to have even a few Blood Ravens with us.
You may rely on that, Captain.
Then join the forces driving into the demon host, and stop any enemies trying to follow me up the orbital spire.
None shall find us wanting.
Honor and glory.
Blood Ravens, for those who don't know, are relics that own Space Marine chapter, that they were created for Dawn of War, and Games Workshop ended up being so happy with how Dawn of War games went that they made them a canon chapter. It was pretty cool. And of course, you got Titus mentioning the Aurelian Crusade, which is a reference to the Dawn of War 2, which kind of firmly, as much as anything is, fluff for Warhammer 40k, that does make Dawn of War and Dawn of War 2 pretty solidly fluff in canon. Yeah, so you get to fight across this bridge, which is kind of awesome. You got the Blood Ravens behind, giving you support. No assault guys. It would have been cool if there had been some assault marines in this too, but there is something kind of awesome coming up in a second. Though obviously it could have been more awesome, but it's still pretty good.
Brothers! Forward!
It might have been a little bit cooler if the AI guys could die, saying they're all invincible. Yeah, if there could have been something where keeping them alive would have been more helpful to you, and instead you just kind of let them be cannon fodder, be unkillable cannon fodder, which is Chaos Psyker.
Drive them back!
Yeah, so here's some coming up.
Ground forces. Ultramarines drop
Drop
pod
pod.
engine. What regulars make you planet? Touchdown imminent.
Cool. So I actually missed the drop pod drop.
Ultramarines, deploy on my mark.
I just barely managed to push it on screen.
Heavy infestation at drop point Validus. Cleanse and purge.
Would have been a really cool if that drop pod had been a dreadnought drop pod instead of just a marine squad. Two things that would have made this like feel really epic would have been a dreadnought or a titan in the background. A dreadnought on the bridge and or a titan in the background fighting a bunch of others, like blowing a whole bunch of other things away. Here we come. To the autocannon, which is now, this is the only place in the game with the autocannon anymore. But originally, like I mentioned back when, right after you meet up with the Inquisitor Trader guy, forgetting, blanking on his name for some reason, and then there were like the 2 rooms just with like hundreds and hundreds of orcs that you had to fight through that got removed, that you would fight through them, that there was this there were a couple of autocannons in that sequence, and you could use them, and it was freaking amazing, just hilarious and fun, because the autocannon is just such a, and you can sort of see the way it just completely wrecks everything. So just like wading through orcs with this autocannon was really, really fun, and that's still one of the, I think, the biggest losses in the game, gameplay-wise, was that you didn't get to. This is now the only place that you ever get to use the autocannon.
Captain Titus, Squad Solinus reporting in. Manufactorum Narses is secure.
Very good.
Your orders, Captain.
Contain the chaos threat here.
Understood.
Can't take it with me.
Thunderhawk ready for transport, Captain Titus.
I will need all your skill, pilot.
We'll take you into the Eye of Terror if you ask it, Captain.
The orbital spire will do for today.